Hi there. Welcome all of our YouTubers. We're glad that you have joined us today. We're going to be recording episode 95 of the Family Meeting podcast today, and we're really looking forward to it. We're glad that you're with us today.
Good morning.
All right.
Hopefully you are having a better start to a morning than we are.
Yes.
It's early.
This is take 3.
This is early.
Yes, this is an early morning, but we are going to get to it and get this episode in the books.
Got a lot going on today.
Yep.
We've got a meeting with our new principal. We've got staff meeting. You've got dentist appointment. You've got mentoring.
Volleyball for the kids.
Volleyball for the girls. Ladies something or other tonight.
Yep.
So life's a whirlwind.
Yes.
I know you're busy too, but thank you for joining and being a part of Family Meeting podcast.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
All right, we ready to dive in today?
I'm ready. Are you?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The Family Meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Osterkamps. I'm Thomas. This is my wife. La 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 Sandra. La la la.
Okay. Stop.
What? Just introducing us. This is what we do.
Working with you really, really helps my prayer life.
Because you're like, dear God, I'm so thankful
Help me,
I have
God.
this awesome
No,
husband to
help me,
work
God.
with.
Help me not to lose my testimony.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 95 of the Family Meeting podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the worst parenting advice ever.
Now, this is going to be a fun episode.
I disagree.
I'm super looking forward to this. Appreciate all of the responses on social media
Yes.
for this episode, which will make it that much more exciting, I think. We just finished up Relationship Refresh. And man, what a great time with our couples who were there.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
We had a couple from Missouri, just listeners of our podcast, who made their way down to Orlando for a Relationship Refresh. Like 18 hours.
So cool.
Come and be a part with us. Megan and
Calvin.
Yes. So Megan and Calvin, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming and being part of Relationship Refresh. And we want all of you to come and be part of next year's Relationship Refresh. So what I want you to do is I want you to get out your calendar right now. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, driving down the road to work, Calvin, pull out your calendar.
No, don't pull out your calendar while you're driving.
I give them permission.
I don't care. No.
If they get pulled over, they can just tell the state trooper, listen, Thomas said I could pull out my calendar right now.
And that will mean nothing to the state trooper.
It might if they listen to the podcast.
Doubtful.
One reason to share this podcast is your local state trooper may listen to it, and it could get you out of a ticket.
You are so off the rails today. You have got to pull it back in.
But July 21st, 22nd, 2023 is going to be Relationship Refresh next year, and we're excited about it, looking forward to it already.
Yes, we are.
And we want you to be a part of it.
That's right. Okay, let's.
What are we talking about today?
Well, I you know what we should be talking about is my anxiety, because this episode has my anxiety on overdrive. Okay, I am super inside panicked about this episode.
It could be controversial, and
yeah,
you're afraid of controversy.
I am, and I don't want anyone to leave upset. Okay. And we had lots of participation from our listeners, which is absolutely fabulous. I was thrilled about that. It was really, really fun to hear all the responses. I had people texting me, messaging, emailing. We had a lot on Facebook and Instagram, and it was just awesome to see people putting their worst parenting advice that they have received out there for us to listen to and to share with all of you. And I will say one really quick, we just love our listeners.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing, and we appreciate you so much. And thank you for participating in things like this. But fair warning, some of these might make you angry. Some of these things that were sent in to us.
Some of these you might be like, that's actually a really good idea.
You might take this as parenting advice episode. Maybe you want to do all these things, and that's fine if that's you. But what we want to tell you is, please don't get angry today. Please just don't be upset. What one parent considers the worst parenting advice they were ever given could very well be what you did for your kids. And even it could be the advice that you're sharing with other parents.
Now, yeah, because you might be the one everybody's getting their worst parenting advice from, and we need people like you. So we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do. And I don't know if you knew this, but when I messaged some people personally to say like, hey, what's the worst parenting advice you ever received? Even if it was from us.
Yes.
Because we've given out plenty of parenting advice.
Like, that's horrible.
Maybe it was from us. But what we want to tell you is to take this episode with a grain of salt, okay? Be a skeptic. Draw your own conclusions of what is good or what is bad parenting advice.
Grain of salt or grain of sand?
Take it with a grain of salt.
Or do you,
Like,
do you
that
take it with a
means-
grain of sand?
You can look at this like doubtful. You can look at it as a skeptic.
Okay. I'm
What-
just curious.
grain
what
of
the,
sand?
yeah, I'm curious what the saying actually is.
I think it's grain of salt.
Okay.
Like, take it with a grain of salt.
Take it with a grain of sand.
You're wrong. I can confidently
like
say you're
grit
wrong.
in your teeth.
Oh, that sounds terrible. That upsets me. No. Okay. But listen, only you can know what's right for your child. So trust God and how he leads you in your parenting, and just try to sit back and enjoy this episode. Try to see it for the comedy that it's supposed to be. Don't actually get angry if you disagree with this.
And I feel like if somebody doesn't get upset from this episode, we haven't done our job as hosts.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I'm
I want
trying to
you
make people happy.
Take it personally.
No.
So if you listen all the way to the very end of last week's episode, kudos to you, by the way, for making it all the way through to the very end. Because some people, when we start getting to the same thing, how we end every time, they miss the last little bit. Mm-hmm. Some of you listen to the very end, and so you heard me talk about this last week. But I think, for me, the worst parenting advice we ever received was from this sweet older lady. And it's been so long ago now, she's probably in heaven or somewhere else. But
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying, we don't know. I don't know people's personal thing. I'm just saying.
Oh my heavens. All right, move on.
She probably won't hear this to be upset, is what I'm saying.
Oh man.
But she told us Catherine had eczema on her face, a rash of some sort, and she
As
said,
a very little infant.
take one of her full pee diapers and rub it all over her face to deal with the skin rash. And I'm like, inside, I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, I didn't say this, but I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to do that. I would much rather have a baby with a face rash than pee face.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not going to rub her urine all over her face.
Yeah, even if it did work, I don't think I would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then this is one, and I think we've already shared this on a different episode at some point along the way, but do you remember there was a nice little old lady who told us to have our baby, when she began to teeth, give her a chicken bone and have her chew on a chicken bone. Now, I feel like that's really weird, but there may be some people out there who are listening to this podcast right now and their baby is chewing on a chicken bone and they're like, what's weird about that? That's okay. It's okay.
I'll say I like the advice just because it gave me a reason to go to Church's Chicken.
Yeah, right. But you didn't, and we didn't give our daughter a chicken bone. So
No, it was turkey leg. Give her a turkey leg.
we did not. So we've had some unusual parenting advice. After that, I remember a lot of good advice too. And maybe we should have a best parenting advice episode. It wouldn't be
That's not as fun.
maybe interesting, but we have had a lot of good advice. That was the only advice I think that we can remember that was unusual or surprising.
So let's get in. I want to get into the responses we got back on social media here. This first one I think is super funny. And what they said, this is their worst parenting advice that they got, was someone told them it will get easier.
Lies.
I think that's hilarious. Well, I mean, it just depends, right?
It may or may not get easier.
It should get easier. That's the goal, is that it gets easier. But depending on your kids and your circumstance, I could see. I'm just picturing whoever this poor mother is that shared. And I wanted to put names with them. She would not let me put names with all these people. So
Because I didn't want to start anything. I mean, in case one parent was super angry, toward another one, nobody would know who said what. So I feel like this is better.
So if you really want to know who said what, go to my social media
Yeah.
and look this up. And
Yep.
you can scope out who said what.
I just can't imagine
So if
anybody
you have a
cares that
vendetta,
much.
you can find them.
Vendetta. It could be.
So it will get easier.
Okay, so here is someone else's, not me, but somebody else's worst parenting advice.
This piece right here, this might stir up the most controversy
I
out of
know.
everything, and you put it right at the front. So
I put them in order as they came in.
so then some
This is in order.
parent will hear this, get mad, and not
Oh my
listen to the rest
gosh.
of the episode.
I know. Please
and I'm
listen.
gonna make you say this one because
I know.
that way people can be mad at you.
Because this is now like a huge political issue, and there are good arguments on both sides of the debate. You see how I am being careful here. All right. So someone else said that their worst parenting advice was don't vaccinate your children. And so that, in their opinion, was the worst parenting advice. And it makes me wonder how that person handled it. If they
I'm very
if
curious.
they fought about it and were like, "Are you crazy?" Or if they just kind of let it go and did the smile and nod.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure this is pre-COVID, so
Probably.
the COVID vaccine's a whole nother situation.
Right.
But
That
I
we're
mean,
not
they're
gonna talk
talking about don't be vaccinated for polio or anything.
Yeah. Chicken pox and all the good stuff.
But hey, it's your family. They're your kids. You have to decide what you're going to do with them.
Yeah. Now this next one, you can tell it, but I will say this next one I felt was bad parenting advice, and I'm not afraid to say it. Go ahead.
Invest more time in ministry, less time with kids.
Yeah, I don't agree
So
with
we
that.
have a lot of ministry leader friends, and whether pastors or whatever else. And so this is coming at it from, hey, we were kind of taught some of this stuff now thankfully I was not at Pensacola Christian where I went to school. Pastor Shetler, who led our pastoral ministry, was very adamant about investing time in family first, and I'm thankful for that.
Amen.
But a lot of schools out there, they did not teach that. They taught, hey, give everything to God, and then God will just take care of your family. It's like, well, God wants to take care of your family through you. That's why
Amen.
he made you the husband and the father. Like, that's his plan. He's the one who said he'll take responsibility for his church.
Right.
So, yes, ministry leaders out there, if you're listening, spend more time with your kids, less time in ministry.
Amen. Okay, so here's another one that someone gave, and you will have to decide if you agree or disagree with this advice. They said their worst parenting advice was, you don't have to make your kids go to church. They can just decide if they want to believe or not. Poor advice is what this person says. Now, your children do have to decide if they're going to believe God or not. That has to be a personal decision between them and the Lord. But whether or not they actually go to church, I've heard good arguments on both sides, make them want to go or make them not want to go. When they're really little, I don't know. I feel like make them go because we make them brush their teeth. We make them go to school. We make them do all those kinds of things.
Yeah, and we make them go to school until they're 18. And then, well, some states 16, until they can decide for themselves.
Yeah.
But we are unapologetically Christian, and so church is a big part. And I agree with whoever gave this. I don't agree with just let your kid decide, 10-year-old if he wants to stay home from church while everybody else is going to church.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. However, there does come a time when, we're kind of at that age with our teenagers where we're saying, all right, do you want to go and be part of this ministry or stay home? You can choose to come and serve and with us, or you can choose to stay home. We're introducing some of that as they get older,
Yes.
especially because we are part of a very busy ministry family where
But
there are
it's-
lots of
But
opportunities.
those are like extracurricular things. It's
Yeah.
not coming to church and worshiping
Right.
and gathering with the believers.
Yes.
Those are things we're supposed to do. So
Mm-hmm.
I could probably get off on a tangent on this one. So let's move on.
Okay.
And here's a piece of parenting advice that someone gave them. Don't homeschool your kids. They will miss out on so much and will never have all the opportunities the public school kids have. How do you feel about that?
I very much disagree. First of all, we are dual enrolled and we homeschool our children, for those of you who don't know, and we have all the opportunities that we want through the public school, through Christian schools in our area. In fact, our girls are just entering a Christian school volleyball team, which is awesome. We were going to do the high school, but this worked out better for our family and our schedule. So as far as opportunities, the opportunities are endless. And I think we may get more opportunities because we travel a lot and do a lot of things with our family. Now, if you had a homeschool family that maybe didn't do a whole lot, maybe they would not see or experience the same things.
And homeschooling definitely isn't for everyone. Like there
Amen.
are people that just should not be homeschooling.
Yes.
So I don't know. Once again, you wouldn't let me have a name, so I can't call them out and ask them if they're a horrible homeschool teacher or not.
No, you cannot. That's why I didn't put names on these.
So
okay.
if that's you and you want to message me personally.
Yeah. To say I'm not a bad homeschool parent.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone was told regarding a bug bite, you should probably take her in and get that checked out. So over a bug bite, get a bug bite checked out. Now, I don't think I agree with that parenting advice in general. But, I mean, I guess it depends. Like, is this a spider bite that we're seeing, like, red veins?
Is it swelling and you're getting red, and it's
Yeah.
Like, that's... I don't know the situation. But if it's like a mosquito bite or...
Yeah.
Like, what happened to me just the other day. I was outside doing something, and I got bit by a fire ant on my toe.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's like, no, I'm not going to go in and get
ER.
that checked. Yeah.
Yeah, and some people are, like, super...
But literally go to the ER for everything.
ER, yeah. ER happy. All right, is this your turn?
Yes, we have a name here.
Oh, no!
Yes. Okay,
Don't
so
say the name.
I'm going to say the name.
It was an accident.
I'm going to say the name. So, I love it. Yes. It will be fine. This is the advice this person was giving. I'm not saying the mom's name because the mom's name is not listed here, but the child's name is listed. It will be fine regarding giving
Bleep.
mashed potatoes when she was only 3 months old. And I had said not to, and then she proceeded to choke.
3 months old mashed potatoes. Ooh,
So
that's pretty young.
mom told somebody else. It would have to be a grandparent, I assume. Mom told grandparent, "Hey, don't give her mashed potatoes. She's only 3 months old."
Oh my goodness, that's
Grandma's
so young.
like, gives her the mashed potatoes, and she chokes.
Never ever do a grandma impression ever again.
That
was bad.
That was. Hey, she'll be fine.
She'll be fine. All right. Also, bad parenting advice in the way of telling our children what they should or should not wear.
Like somebody else telling your kids.
Yeah.
What
Telling
they
your
should or
kids
should
what
not.
you should or should not wear. Not good.
I
That's
think
bad
it's
advice.
just bad. I think it's just bad practice to tell somebody else's kids things like that anyway.
Yeah, pretty much anything. I mean, yeah, let everybody parent their own kids, right?
Unless they're doing a real horrible job, then I have to step in.
Okay, then one parent said, wait, what did you just say?
I was waiting for it.
I was reading what the
I'm
next
like,
parenting
she's
advice
not
was.
reacting at all.
Okay, I know based on tone.
I said if they're doing a real bad job, then I guess I'll have to step in.
Okay, that's what, because the tone caught me and I was like, I know that I'm supposed to disagree with whatever he just said. It cannot be good based on his tone. All right. One parent had a person who doesn't have any children try to diagnose her child even after they knew what was wrong with the child. So they're saying, disregard what the doctor said. I know what's wrong with your child, actually. And
Okay. So the
Yeah.
parents knew what the issue was with their personal child. Someone without kids is like, hey, this is what you need to do.
boy, that's when it's tough to just smile and nod and not be like, shut up.
Yeah, and I've told the story before about me and my dad. Mm-hmm. And the girls were doing something they weren't supposed to do, and I got after them. Mm-hmm. And my dad said, "You're being too hard on them. Just be fine." I'm literally like This coming from you?
Yeah, your dad was not gentle.
Like, this is nothing compared to how you used to treat me. Like, and I got very upset, and I handled it in a way that I shouldn't have handled it, and I had to go back and apologize later. Mm-hmm. But it's hard when people, especially people you feel like don't know the situation, don't know what's going on, and they're coming and trying to tell you how to parent your kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to know how that conversation went right there.
Mm-hmm. If they were able to hold their tongue.
All right. Here's one. So we've looked at the other side.
Excuse me.
Now that she's done coughing.
Sorry.
Here, we've looked at the other side of, hey, you need to spend more time in ministry, less with your kids. Here's one. This is the advice they got. Bring your kids to church 3 times each week, every time the doors are open, to ensure that they remain in church when they're older. Which I think is so funny because we have a whole generation of kids who were kind of dragged to church like that, and yet they're leaving the church in droves. So, and what they said here, this comment, it wasn't necessarily quote unquote bad advice, but horribly misguided. They said, it's like washing the outside of the cup when the inside of the cup is still dirty. The logic was that kids do less than their parents, so you need to do everything for God so that your kids do something for Him. And it totally leaves out the equation that, hey, maybe God can get a hold of this kid's heart and do a work and give them a love for Jesus and a love for the church and a love for Christians, and they'll want to be there. They just naturally assumed we're going to progress further and further away no matter what happens in your life. That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. And yet I know that there are probably some people out there who are listening and who are saying, yeah, 3 times a week, every time the doors are open. And there are, I think that we probably represented in our listeners are both sides of this that agree or disagree. And so, there are things to be said for both, but I think sometimes we can let church overtake the family and misunderstand that God and church are not the exact same thing. You can have a relationship with God without going to church 3 times a week, but it just gets a little confusing there sometimes.
And I know people who have dragged their kids every time the doors are open, and yet they don't live out their faith and live out what it is they're hearing at church during the week.
Exactly.
So dragging them to church 3 times a week is not going to do anything except make them bitter against what it is that as a parent you're not doing in the first place.
Okay. Oh, this is such bad parenting advice. Oh my goodness. Okay. And I'm going to read it just like the parent who wrote it because it's so funny. Like that's one thing that I think I thought there was a lot of comedy.
Some of the tone in some of these comments was funny.
So I'm going to read it as them. This is not me. Wake your baby every 2 hours to feed them. Heck no! My daughter slept from the night I brought her home to 5 or 6 in the morning. And I think that was the best thing I could have done. So somebody said, wake your baby every 2 hours to feed them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if that infant is sleeping, let them sleep.
I know. I felt so bad for those people out there who listen to that kind of advice.
Well, and some people, like, they are blessed, like this person here was, where their child just slept through the night. That is a blessing as a mother to be able to just get that rest, especially after having a baby and all that.
Right.
Tired, worn out, trying to recover. But there are some kids that literally wake up 2 hours through the night because they're ready to feed. If they're not waking up on their own, it's like that episode of Friends. When she woke Emma up, and it was just like, don't wake a sleeping baby. Yeah.
Okay.
Our kids were pretty good at sleeping for the most part.
Yeah. Abigail slept through the night at 2 weeks. Catherine was 6 weeks. Isabella was 4 weeks. Violet was 3 weeks. Yeah.
So it wasn't too bad, but still.
Not bad at all.
6 weeks? That's still a long time.
Yeah. I'm going to read this next one. Because
I thought you were going to let me read it.
I think I'm going to read it because it's all about breastfeeding.
I know. When I saw it come up next, I was like, oh, this worked out right.
I know.
Almost
that's
like
why.
She planned this.
No. I'm going to read this one. So this is a pretty long paragraph, but I'm going to read the whole thing as this person, just so you know that this is not me talking. I remember struggling with breastfeeding my first, and I was wanting to pump or maybe do formula, and my mom basically told me not to do that. She said that if I pumped, that would mean that I would leave my son
I could leave.
I could, oh yeah, if I pumped, I could leave my son with someone else, and I shouldn't leave him when he was a baby, ever.
Boy.
Now, I totally disagree with that advice. You've got to leave your children. You've got to get away, otherwise you may go crazy. My ex also didn't want me to do formula. He said it was so expensive and I needed to just push through. It made it very hard to bond with my son because of the constant pain for weeks on end. They were on fire for over 6 weeks. Moms, you know what this is like. Many of you. Every time he nursed, it was like shards of fiery glass coming out. Oh my goodness, honey, I've been there. I know it's rough. Yes. So that was not good parenting advice. Sometimes it's okay to throw in the towel, you guys. Okay.
Seriously.
Yeah, your kids are going to be okay.
Yeah, that is full of bad parenting advice.
I agree. Lots of bad parenting advice there.
Yeah. It's okay if you leave your child for a little bit with somebody safe.
Yes, you need to. It's the best thing for your child because it's the best thing for you too.
Okay, moving on from that.
Okay.
Here's bad parenting advice that they were given. To put hot sauce on our 3-year-old's thumb to stop them from their thumb-sucking habit.
This one is so funny to me because
sauce.
I tried this. I tried this. This wasn't even my parenting advice.
Who did you try this from?
I tried it on Isabella or Catherine. What I might have tried it on both of them.
Yeah.
Probably. They were both sucking their thumbs, and I was trying to get them to stop. Somebody told me this. I was like, well, I will try anything. And so I did this. I put the hot sauce on their thumbs, and they sucked their thumbs and made like a bad face, like they didn't like it, and kept sucking their thumbs. So they sucked the hot sauce off and then, dealt with it.
That's really funny.
Yes.
I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but
It's probably not. I mean, it didn't work for one thing.
maybe you didn't use hot enough.
That could
You
be.
should have went with like ghost pepper sauce.
Oh my goodness, you could burn your child. Yes. Okay, how about this one? And some of you may do this. So some of you are going to be like, oh, this is great advice. Who's the crazy person that thought this was bad advice? We'll see.
I will give you a name later.
To bite your child back if they have a biting problem. Somehow this didn't seem right to me. Also, the same problem someone told me to tell my child to stop biting. Well, gee, I tried that before I'd asked for advice. I love the tone there.
That is funny.
That is how you feel when people are trying to tell you what to do with your kid, isn't it? You're like, oh gosh.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, listen, Johnny, no biting, stop biting. Okay, well, that didn't work. Now what?
Yeah, exactly.
So I will say this. Okay, our daughters are way past the biting stage, right?
Yeah.
I bit them all.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Where was I?
I don't know.
All right. Okay, go ahead. So you agree with this?
I'm not telling anyone else to do this. I'm just saying this is what I did. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And not like super hard. It's not like I just like made them bleed, but it was one of those things where I wanted them to understand
How it felt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like this is what happens if you keep on doing, like I wouldn't do that the very first time, but if it becomes a repeated problem, I did. Mm-hmm. And so it happened with all of them.
Wow. Okay.
And you knew about it at the time. You may have forgotten. But.
Yeah, that's probably something I blocked out. Okay. This is definitely something that is going to maybe cause a little controversy.
It
you
shouldn't.
Use a timeout, not spanking. So some people may not believe in spanking. Other people do. I don't know. But
You sound very unsure of yourself.
I know what I believe, but I don't know if we're sharing
What
it
do you
publicly.
believe?
I believe in spanking that little baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe not little babies.
Well, yeah. I mean, not teeny tiny, but
Yeah.
when they start crawling around to the outlets.
So, and there's an actual way to do
Right.
to carry out spanking. It's not just, hey, swing and hit whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But if timeouts work for you, fantastic. Our kids are way past physical discipline. Now we found other ways to get out, and their phone or their electronics is the number one tool to use in discipline.
because they hate having those taken away. So it's
You know, if your kid like can't stand being still and that's the worst thing in the world to them, a timeout might work great.
It's true.
So for prodigals, I have heard of parents having nothing to do with their children because of their choices. So it's just like, hey, you've made this choice to live this way. I'm not going to speak to you anymore. It's almost like you're dead to me. Which there were a lot of churches that taught that.
Yes.
Like that was the way.
Yes.
No matter what the decision was, if it was against what your beliefs were, then cut them off. Like they're dead to you. Oh man, that's horrible.
It breaks my heart. Yeah. Because God doesn't treat us that way. God loves us no matter what. Now, we might not have the same relationship with him, and we may not be in the same standing of blessings and all of those kinds of things, but his love for us never changes, thank God. All right. Enabling your prodigal by bailing them out of their problems. So in other words, maybe somebody who has an addiction problem or someone who has made some bad choices, and you're always bailing them out of their problems, and which enables them to stay in that state.
And it depends on the circumstance, obviously, but there are times where we have to get to a point where we're not enabling people anymore. You know, I think of the story of the prodigal son, and we hear the word prodigal here, based off the story of the prodigal son, I assume. But in the story, this son, he goes off and lives whatever kind of lifestyle he wants to, and it tells us that he got to a point where no person gave to them. In other words, no one was helping them out, and it was at that point that he came to his right senses, when he hit rock bottom. So there is something to be said about that, letting people in certain circumstances get to rock bottom. Now, we don't have adult children yet, so that's not something we've had to deal with, and I hope that we never have to. But that's tough. Whatever you choose to do in that circumstance, you're going to feel like I'm not doing the right thing.
Yeah, I think that's true. Just let them cry it out. Now, this is definitely a gray area, because what exactly are we talking about? And actually, I think coming up is it somebody else's advice about disagreeing to let them cry it out. So maybe we'll talk about that here in a second when the second one comes up. I can't remember. Here we go. Listen to this. Crying it out is good for them. One of mine I had to force wean them, and we had months of screaming to sleep in my arms or mommy right there, and we still are having emotional trauma. I can't imagine if she had to go through that all alone. So they are saying, do not let them cry it out. And it looks like this other parent is also saying the same thing. Just let it cry them out. Just let them cry it out is bad advice. Which, I mean, we kind of did that with our kids. We would, if they didn't want to go to sleep, we'd put them in their little
But that
crib
was after you checked to make sure, hey, they've ate, they are clean, they don't need their diaper's been changed, like everything with them is good. And now it's time for bed.
Right.
That's a different story than if they have issues, if they're actually hungry.
Yeah.
You know.
And we didn't really have kids who cried for like hours ever. I mean, it was,
No.
5 minutes and they were asleep. So I don't think that's the same thing. So
No, and I can't imagine what this mom went through with her child, just
Right.
crying and crying and crying like that.
Yeah.
That would bother me.
Yeah.
That consequences are not good for kids. Wow. Consequences are very good for kids. This is one I don't think we need to worry about being controversial with.
I agree.
All of us need to learn that there's repercussions for our actions. Very biblical principle.
Yes.
And I think maybe some areas of our society are suffering because we have taught them that consequences don't matter.
Yeah, for
or
sure.
that there aren't consequences for things.
This next one is bad parenting advice. Kids should be able to talk however they want. Kids don't need to show respect if they aren't given respect. Well, this is not good either, because I have to give respect to people who do not show me respect as an adult even,
Yes.
I mean, we treat people the right way because it's what God says to do, not because they deserve it.
But just to let your kid talk however they want to talk to you. Man, there's families I don't want to be around because their kids are just talk horribly and are so disrespectful.
Yeah, I can't stand to watch that and be around it. I agree. And our kids don't like it. Our kids will say, "Can we not go the next time we have to be with them because they're I don't like how they talk to their parents, or they're not nice or whatever." So
how about
probably
this
not
one?
good.
Give your kids tablets, phones, and TV to keep them out of your hair.
Excellent advice.
Oh my God. How long's the time frame? Are we talking about like all day, or
Yeah.
geez, I just need to take a nap for an hour.
Yeah.
Go watch TV.
Yes.
So I guess it depends.
There's got to be a balance
If
there.
it's just giving in to them all the time, I'm not in agreement with that. Like, our kids have to ask for permission to use any electronics.
Right. Okay. This one was heard once as a kid and once as a parent. You're ruining your kids by homeschooling, and they'll never be rounded adults unless they go to public school. And we've already talked a little bit about that. Interesting that we're kind of seeing the same things pop up
Some
throughout.
patterns here.
We're going to see another one here, this next one.
So here's a couple of them. If you paddle your children, you're teaching them violence, and then timeout's better than spanking. So same kind of issue. And once again, we have already shared that physical punishment should be met out in a very planned out way.
Careful.
Yeah. So, but spanking's not for everybody.
This one says that they have been surprised by some remedies people suggest, like schnapps on the gums of a teething baby. And maybe some of you are like, it works, it's great, you
what
gotta
about-
try it.
Here's one just down. A thimble of whiskey will help your toddler sleep better. Everybody knows it's a pint of whiskey, and your kid will feel better.
It's a thimble for the kid and a shot glass for mommy.
Seriously.
We'll all sleep well.
It's like, I don't know if the baby feels better, but I do.
Yes. Okay.
So put the peppermint schnapps on there, and you don't even have to brush your teeth.
Yeah. Okay.
Squish it around a little.
How about this? Give your kids a little extra melatonin so you can get them to sleep faster.
All right, parents out there, raise your hand if you've given your kids melatonin.
We haven't, but we didn't have any problems getting them to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But a lot of parents do.
this made me
Yeah.
think of one that wasn't necessarily bad advice, but it was something that I was like, wait, what? One mom said that they gave their child Benadryl for a flight, like to make them sleep during an
yeah.
airplane flight
Like
when they were little.
Mr. T style.
I don't know what that. Oh, yeah.
He was afraid of
From the
flying, so they'd
A-Team.
knock him out. And so every time they went to put him on an airplane.
Okay. Well, anyway, so
I need to
yeah.
give my mom Benadryl when she flies.
That's a great idea. Your poor mom needs to be drugged to fly.
I'll put some Benadryl in her shot of whiskey.
I was gonna say, add in the whiskey and you're set. But yeah, so I'm not saying that's bad advice, but I remember being like, you're literally drugging your child to fly? Okay. Like,
Do what you gotta do.
I kind of tucked that advice away, like in case I ever need it, I'm just
Now,
gonna give my kid Benadryl.
As a passenger on a flight, I'm all for giving kids Benadryl.
Yeah, I know, right?
'Cause there's been some long flights. Okay. From this listener, I have read some parenting advice that I thought was crazy. Like letting your kids pick what they want to eat and not forcing them to eat something they don't want to eat. And this is a real issue. Do we make them eat something? Because I know some parents are afraid that if they force their kid to eat vegetables, then they'll just grow up and they'll hate vegetables forever. But this person says, my kids will literally just eat chicken and fries then. And there are some people, like we know some picky eaters who literally eat like one or two things, and that is absolutely it.
We did force our kids to eat vegetables, meats, fruits. We forced them to eat
Some
all
of them
it.
were a little sneaky in how they did things. You know, Abigail would hide her broccoli and stuff in a little nook underneath the table.
It was so gross when I found that. I was like,
Yeah.
Abigail!
But I mean, when I have to force feed my kid funnel cake, that was the end of the road.
That was also Abigail. Oh, poor little
That
Abigail.
was the end of the. It's like, I know you eat donuts all the time. This is just a donut, like basically in a different form. And she was like, I'm not eating it, and screaming
like
and crying
it. I
at this
don't
little
like
fair
it.
thing we were at. And then she takes one bite and it's like, oh, this is good. Like, I know.
You were so mad.
Can't
that
even do
day.
a nice thing for you kids ever.
Oh, okay. How about don't make your children apologize because they don't understand and it's not heartfelt. And then this parent says, it may not be heartfelt, but it's the principle that you're teaching. I agree with that. We do that. We make our kids say they're sorry.
And we make them say, I forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
Like we want
Whether
them
or
to
not they
understand
apologize.
that's a part of the process of restoring a relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, here, what about this one? This is old school right here.
Yeah, it is.
So if you say this, I know you're old school.
Mm-hmm.
Do as I say. And often it's not as I do. And this person says, while I understand children should obey their parents, most of the time children are growing confused because their parents don't even do what they say.
Right. So my dad used this as a joke growing up, like all the time. So like if my mom was baking cookies and dad would go snatch a little bit of cookie dough and mom would be like, stop that. He'd look at all of us kids who are like giggling and he'd be like, do as I say, not as I do. And he'd be like, don't eat the cookie dough. And then he'd eat the cookie dough. So like in our house, it was more of a joke.
Yeah.
I do not believe that he really meant it. But that was something I heard actually quite a bit growing up. But it was usually a joke.
Well, and I think it depends upon your child's age too. Like when they are so small, they don't understand why you're telling them this. So it's just, hey, do it. Now, as they get older, we want to teach them the why behind things so they can understand and learn to think for themselves and make choices for themselves. So especially now with our kids, with how old they are, we explain through things like this is why we don't want you on your phone after a certain time at night and so on and so forth. Why you can't just get on the internet and do whatever you want to do all the time.
All right, how about this one? Kids' schedules don't matter. You can keep them up super late for one night and it'll be okay. And
spend some time with our kids and see if that's true.
Our kids need their sleep.
Even now, it's like,
oh my goodness,
if they stay up late more than a couple nights in a row, because obviously it's summer now, and so they stay up a little later.
Yeah.
Or on the weekends, we might let them.
Right.
But we know, like, okay, you guys are so cranky. You're going to bed early tonight.
Yep.
Like, you just need sleep.
Yep.
I think, here's one. I think one would be you have to force your kids to finish their meal. Or that we know how much they should eat.
Yeah, like how can we know if they're hungry or if they're full or when they need to stop?
And that was the thing
whatever.
too, like finish your food.
Right.
Finish your plate no matter what.
Clear your plate.
Clear your plate. And then if they grow up with that mindset.
Overeating, whether or not they need. Yeah. Okay. This is someone's pet peeve, forcing them to share. All right. Now, this is going to be funny because there's a lot of attitude in here. Okay. Pet peeve, forcing them to share. Step one of learning to share requires that they understand ownership. We teach if something belongs to someone, they're allowed to ask for it back and must receive it without any issues. If someone wants that said item, they need to ask permission from the owner. This comes along with encouraging sharing and kindness, but also comes along with allowing space for respectfully declining the offer, and the other respectfully accepting no as an answer. My kids will not be walking around snatching other people's stuff because they feel like it. I mean, they still do that, but that's an ideal world of not.
I love that.
I know. I loved that too.
And this parent has a lot of good things to say about sharing here. Like teaching your kids about that. And our kids do, and we did this, learning that, hey, that's their thing. And if they want to be playing with it, then no, you don't just get it because you want it.
Right. That's not real life at all.
But Jesus said share, so I get it. Let's see here. This is a long one.
Yep.
Okay. Most worst advice I've received would have to be more about don't worry about the mess. They can clean it up their toys tomorrow. Snuggle right now. Kids equals mess. No point trying to keep a nice home. Along those lines.
I've heard these things.
So I'm supposed to show them that we don't care of our things, we don't respect our home and others living in it, that it's okay to trash a space and move on expecting others to clean their mess, or the fact that clutter in the home and an overwhelming amount of toys isn't having a negative effect on them. I'm obviously passionate about teaching ownership, responsibility of possessions, cleaning up after yourself, being an involved member of the family to help the home run smooth, and the benefits of teaching them how to be respectful of spaces, organize, prioritize, tidy, and keep a space nice. I feel like I need a disclaimer. I'm by no means a neat freak or hyper-organized or Pinterest-worthy home. We make royal messes, but then we tidy them up. We bake and have fun and play in mud and have pillow fights or clothes fights with the clean laundry, and then it all gets set back how it's supposed to be.
I like this.
I agree with this.
I do too.
Because we do want to teach our kids to take care of their stuff. So this, I think this mom is spot on. You live life, you have fun. It's okay to make messes. It's not okay to leave messes.
Yep,
so
that's exactly what we do in our house.
We learn to clean up and everybody gets involved and everybody has a part.
And the way that I look at it too is if everybody cleans up together, then we can all have snuggle time. Like, I don't think it's snuggle time or cleanup. I think it's both.
You can do both.
You can do both. And I think that people who don't want to keep clean houses oftentimes use that as an excuse. Like, well, I want to live life with my kids. I want to be with them or play with them instead of clean. And I get that. I think that that's good. But I'm wondering sometimes if that is used as an excuse so you don't have to do the hard work. If you do the hard work together, there's still time to clean and play and snuggle.
Yeah, and nobody's telling you that in order for your child to be healthy, you have to have a showroom house. But things ought to be clean, organized. You ought to be able to move around and like live life.
This one's interesting. I wonder if this will have any controversy. I've heard both things. All right. If my child's going to smoke or drink, I'd rather them do it in front of me than sneak behind my back to do it.
I agree with that.
You agree that this is bad advice, or you agree with the advice?
I agree with the advice wholeheartedly.
So you would rather our kids come and smoke and drink with you?
Smoke and drink with me.
You need to start smoking and drinking then, I guess. Okay. When my twins were tiny babies, oh, God bless you twin mamas out there, people would tell me it gets easier, which was the first advice we had on our episode today.
Yeah.
Wrong. The toddler stage was the absolute worst because I was outnumbered. Oh, man, can you imagine like running after two naughty little toddlers, like mischievously getting into everything?
Yeah.
And now she says, I can't imagine puberty being easier either. Ha ha.
That's really funny.
I can't imagine it will be easier, but I don't know, sister.
No, God bless you, like moms that have more than one child at a time.
Yes.
Like we had ours like boom, 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 and that was hard enough. Never mind, you instantly drop two of them.
Multiples. Yeah. Instantly drop two of them? Did you just say that?
It's better than what I was actually going to say.
Oh my goodness. Just go forward.
But I'm just saying, like we know a few moms of twins. And that's tough.
It's hard work.
That is very hard work. God bless you.
Amen.
How about this one? You just have to let kids find their own way. Really? I'm pretty sure we need to help guide them.
I love the sarcasm and stuff.
Me too.
It's so fun.
Yeah, that's so funny. But yeah, kids find their own way. Do you agree with that? Do you think kids should find their own way?
No, I mean, we have to guide them and everything. And in the end, they will make their own way. They will go their own direction, like no matter how hard we try. But guiding them has to be a part of that. We can't just be hands-off parents. I do not believe that at all.
Yeah, you're teaching them and guiding them and instructing them, warning them.
This is interesting. This one made Thomas laugh.
Oh my gosh, I was cracking up at this.
I was told to act how my child was acting to show them how ridiculous they looked. Literally that I should get on the ground in the supermarket and kick and scream like them. Trust me, they'll see how ridiculous they're acting and stop. Okay. That's how I'm reading this.
Yeah. Cracking up. I'm pretty sure this was Ian.
Oh, you said a name.
I think I remember this one.
Shame on you. Now whoever gave Ian this advice is going to be shamed.
I know. Because I'm sure they listen to our podcast with advice like this.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I would love to see this full-grown man like laying on the ground, screaming, kicking. You know, it'd be one thing if you were doing that, your child's a little older and you're just like trying to jokingly embarrass them out of it.
That would be terrible too.
Yeah, it's like the videos of. Have you seen the video of this daughter she's like dressed a certain way and is gonna go out, and dad's like, no, you're not. She's like, yes, I am. So he goes and puts on the exact same thing, like little Daisy Dukes and a little tank top or whatever, and is like, okay, let's go. She went back and changed.
I bet. I bet. But yeah, okay.
What about this one? Put your toddler in a cold shower if he has an accident. He might still be scarred. And they say this, don't follow parenting advice out of peer pressure.
Amen.
So what's kind of funny about this?
I thought of this too. I was wondering if you were going to say it. Okay, go ahead.
My dad actually did this to me.
Yes. How old were you?
13. No, I don't remember.
I think your mom said you were like 4. I don't know. I could be wrong. Yeah. But you were like way too old to be having accidents.
Yeah, and mom didn't want to deal with it anymore. So she said, Dad, you deal with it. And that's how he dealt with it.
Yeah, he threw you in, was it cold water?
Cold water,
yeah.
And I don't remember the incident.
According to your mom, you never wet again.
Yeah.
Never wet your pants again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess apparently Thomas is the product of this. It does work.
Hey, but just because it works doesn't mean that you should do it. All
right. So adult Thomas, are you scarred?
I don't remember it at all.
I will say this: he likes his bathwater super hot,
yeah, I do.
Like cooking, boiling lobster. Hot.
It's like, hey, your child has an accident. Why don't you waterboard them, and then they won't have an accident anymore.
Waterboarding might work for thumb sucking, sleeping through the night.
Make them so scared of wetting themselves that they never wet themselves.
Oh, my.
So, some interesting parenting advice.
Yeah.
We thank you for sharing these things with us.
It's been fun.
So, family meeting idea.
Talk about how crazy everything is.
Here's the family meeting idea that I have for you. And this is what I do with my kids often. Whenever I hear some parent who's doing something crazy or something super harsh, I always tell my kids, I'm way too nice to you guys.
You make sure they know what the other people are doing.
Exactly. I am way too nice to you.
Yeah. Make them grateful.
Yeah. So maybe sit down with the family tonight and just talk about what's the one piece of worst parenting advice from today's episode that you think is actually good parenting advice. Discuss why you agree or disagree. So maybe you've heard something on the show and you're like, that actually worked really well for me. Okay, great. Why did it work so well? And have a little conversation about that. Make sure your kids know how well you're treating them compared to some of the scum out there.
That's the scum. Speaking of us, we are grateful that you have joined us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information to be helpful, please share this episode on social media. We're really happy when people share our episodes on social media. It's really cool to see that. So we appreciate those of you who share it. And invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org. And we would love to hear some episode ideas from you. Send us an email at info@familymeeting.org. Or maybe you got something you want to talk to us about. You want to share your worst parenting advice with us. Hey, give us a phone call at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting as we share some ideas in how to keep balance in marriage between protecting yourself from being mistreated and giving mercy.
Oh, yeah. That can be interesting.
We all make mistakes.
Not all of us.
Yes, we all do, babe.
You don't.
You do, and I do.
I do. You don't.
I do. All right. And we have to live in a world where we can make mistakes and be given grace, mercy, and forgiveness. But how do we do that and also make sure that we are not being a doormat?
You should be great at this. You have to live with me.
Mm-hmm. I give a lot of grace, mercy, and forgiveness.
Yep.
But you know what?
I give you a lot of opportunities to give grace, mercy, and forgiveness.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
All right, folks.
Worst parenting advice ever. Hey, leave us in the comments. What's the worst parenting advice you've ever received?
Yeah.
Love to hear from you about that.
You can see how fun it is to hear other people's parenting advice, so we'd like to hear yours too.
If you got episode ideas, share them with us.
Yeah. We're always looking for good ideas. Some of my favorite episodes that we have recorded are ones that a listener has suggested. It's been really helpful. So we'd love to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, as we mentioned, we have a crazy busy day, so we're going to get after it. You guys have a great day.